And so fortunately this gathering is going on. I'll just tell you a little bit about myself so you know. I joined movement in Gainesville, Florida with Amarindu in 1973. And for the last 10 years I've been traveling around Eastern Europe, Russia, India, and speaking mainly, I took up this preaching tour to speak about spiritual economics. 25 years ago, I was sitting on my porch reading Bhagavad Gita, and I realized Prabhupada was, or Krishna is speaking about economics. And I was kind of surprised because I'd been reading Bhagavad Gita for a long time by then and hadn't really noticed that. But then the more I tuned into that, the more I saw it not only in Bhagavad Gita, but it's everywhere throughout Bhagavatam and so on. And so then I tried to forget it a little bit because I never wrote anything before. I was inspired, but anyway, I just kind of tried to put it aside, but it wouldn't go away. So anyway, I kind of considered a mission, or not a mission, but an assignment given to me by Krishna. Anyway, terrifying, that's interesting and amusing way to describe the book. Why is that so, or why would that be so? Because economics, of course, is the way that they run the world today. And if we actually understood how the background behind it, it does become a little terrifying, actually. My sojourn into that began when I was treasurer at Gitanagari Farm in 1977. And, of course, you know, reading about the farms and how they're supposed to function and so on, we saw we had 30 cows giving milk, lots of milk, beautiful brown Swiss cows. We had 30 oxen in the barn eating. Not many of them were doing much work. And we were getting $10,000 every month from the New York temple to build up the place and make it go. And I was looking at that picture and I was thinking, well, this can't be the idea of, you know, what these farms are supposed to be like. So I started to think about economics. And actually, by the way, I don't have any degree in economics. My degree is in engineering. If I'd had a degree in economics, I couldn't write such a book. So, what does Krishna say about economics? Kamani varakaraste ma paleshu kadachana. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you're not entitled to the fruits of your work. Okay. How many have a job? And? Why do you work? Why do you go to work? Yeah. You're one of those rare cases that might continue to do that job under all circumstances. Anyway, most people go to work why? Money, right? They want the money, which is otherwise called the fruits of action. So Krishna says, you have a right to do your duty, but the result doesn't belong to you. So we've got a problem here, don't we? Right? Because this entire culture is based on working for the result. And so, actually what the situation is modern society is antithetical to the culture of Bhagavad Gita. And most of us actually, you know, we're not too cognizant of that because we're so conditioned by our culture. Now, why is it terrifying? Because it actually threatens our fallible soldiers. I remember when I first started reading about the reality of economics, it was devastating for me. It was actually terrifying and devastating. And it took me about, you know, it put me, I was in shock for about 2-3 weeks when I was trying to come to grips with the reality of the world. So it's terrifying, yeah, because the reality of this world is not what we think it is. It's being run, as Prabhupada told us, by the Rakshasas. They're real, they still exist, and they use money as a means of control. Anyway, I won't go on and on. The book, you can see the cover. It's a handful holding a fistful of burning dollars. And what the book is an analysis of economic behavior according to the gunas. That is, economics, or all of our behavior really, is a matter of consciousness. So according to our consciousness and goodness, consciousness and passion, consciousness and ignorance, people prefer a different way of dealing with their economics. And so the book is an analysis like that. And, you know, when we talk about, of course everybody knows there's economic problems. It's not, you know, a surprise. But it's really not an economic problem unless I have an economic problem, right? When it's my economic problem, then there really is an economic problem. But if it's somebody else's economic problem, well, sorry, you know, good luck, too bad, we wish you well, like that. It's not, let's see, why is it okay for us to live in a world where 1 billion people go to bed every night not knowing how they're going to eat the next day? That's the situation. This system is given to us by somebody else, and the system is arranged to serve their purposes, not our purposes. So, Krishna, he tells us in Bhagavad Gita how we should do our economics. He explains, you're not entitled to the fruits. One should work for the welfare of all sentient beings. And Prabhupada, he actually built our movement based on this transcendental economics of giving, giving out of love. Prabhupada, you know, our whole, everything in ISKCON, Hare Krishna movement, is based on giving. Take this book, give a donation if you can. Reciprocation, it's a reciprocation of love. And so, you know, if we're going to solve the economic problems, not just for ourselves, but for the whole world, we need to expand this consciousness, expand this concept of this reciprocation of love. And not thinking in terms of I and mine, I've got my bank account, you've got your bank account, you know, like that. But it all belongs to Krishna. Sometimes when I speak about this, and devotees will ask, well, how can we implement that? And I say, well, it's very easy. I said, we simply make one bank account and everybody puts all their money in that one bank account, and then we divide it to everybody according to their need, right? And at that time, everybody's eyes get big as saucers, like, no, that's a little too big a step. What else can we do? Anyway, that's a direction that we have to go. Worldwide, globally. And there's a lot of people, there's a lot going on in this way. Giving, people are giving. What the whole internet is people giving what they have. Very few websites are charging. Most websites, they simply give what they have. And there's many, many other examples of giving. We have in Berkeley, California, what's called the Karma Kitchen. And it's a nice restaurant, formal restaurant, got tablecloths and so on. And you go in there, you sit down, waiter comes, takes your order, brings your meal, it's vegetarian. And then at the end he brings your bill, and it says, you owe $0.00. Your meal has been paid for by somebody that's come before you, and if you like, you can leave a donation for somebody who comes later. Then they give you an envelope, you put in whatever you want, nobody's looking. There's a lot of efforts like that. There's more than 30 of these restaurants going on all around the world. People are simply trying to think of another way to live besides the status quo, which is simply dividing everybody and isolating each other. So this is the mode of spiritual economics, to take this concept that Prabhupada gave us, giving in the spirit of devotion, and then reciprocating. So this is the idea. This is the first volume. We have 3 volumes planned. Very ambitious. Hope I can get there. But this is the first volume focusing on the gunas and how to solve the economic problem. It says part 1, understanding and solving the economic problem for everyone. Anyway, I've got a few books in the back, and come have a look-see. And otherwise, thank you very much for your association. Shilo Prabhupada ki.
You want to come say something? Karnadaksha Vishnu. This is Karnadaksha Vishnu. He, over the last 7 or 8 months, has distributed something like 600 Bhagavad Gitas on the street, just walking around outside Willesden Tube Station, to speak to people.
Hare Krishna. I'm not sure what I'm going to say, but I hadn't planned anything much. But I think Bajahari asked me to read out my scores, and I haven't got them here on me, so I'll just try and do it from memory. But there was 3 things that I want you to talk about, actually. It was book distribution, writing, and Varnashram. And book distribution-wise, I started first distributing my first book in 1982 when I was staying at Soho Street, and I went to a block of flats north of the Euston Road. I went to a block of flats there, and there was a devotee called Dina Dayadra, a Welsh devotee, and we both went there, and that was the first time I went to a block of flats and knocked on doors and actually distributed. I think I just distributed 1 book at that time. But later on, 1995, I distributed a few more books when I was at work, and in fact, I'll just get my list. That's all right. Thanks very much.
Did he become president of the Vrindavan?
No,
It wasn't that deal.
No, it's a different deal. He was based in. He was a Welsh devotee.
Yeah, he's Welsh.
Dina Dayadra was. He was staying in Cambridge with me, and that's when Sariputta was there. But
can you speak more in the microphone?
yeah, okay. So 1995 I did 93 books. 96 I did 82. 97 6. And then 1998, 99, 2000 I didn't do anything. Then 2001 I did 1 book. And then 2002, 3, 4 and 5 I didn't do anything. And then 2006 I did 160 books. And then 2009 I did 46 books. It's all in this book, exercise book that I wrote them all down. And then 2010 I did 74 books. And 2011, 43 books. 2012 I didn't do anything. And then 2013, which is interesting, last year I did 284 books in the beginning of the year and collected £578 and 11 pence. And then at the end of the year, from 12th of November last year to the 31st of December, I did 326 books for £413 and 49 pence. That last bit was a carry-on from, it was actually starting out with Bajahari's Bhagavad Gitas, which these little pocket-sized Bhagavad Gitas. And these, I don't know, has everyone seen this before? Everyone knows about it. So, but basically, it's the 1972 edition. It's the original 1972 original Macmillan version in the pocket-sized form. And basically, I distributed 326 of those for £413 49 pence last year. And then this year, I did. Just check. this year I did 339 of these little books and 28 of the large ones. Has everyone seen the large ones?
Where are you distributing?
I'm distributing them outside Wilson Green Station, and generally door to door and house to house around Wilson. But this is the big one. It's a softback, but there's a hardback version as well, which Bhaja Haripur has been doing for a long time. And but if I just get the last one. So I did 28 of the big ones and 339 of the little ones this year. No, sorry, 311 little ones. And I collected altogether, well, taking off the £413.49 from last year, I distributed, got £1,020.13. And that's about £200 a month. That's distributing 2 books a day, 15 books a month, 15 books a week, 60 books a month, and about 339 books in 5.5 months. What we had in mind, and I discussed this with Bhaja Haripur before, that if everyone, all our godbrothers and sisters know about the original books and all the basic understanding that the real nectar is in the original books, so that if we all agree to take 1 box today, if possible, or agree to take 1 box which is it's got 96 in a box, and if we can all take 1 box each, then Bhaja Hari's got 35,000, not boxes, but little ones. So if we can all take one box, then I was trying to cover the whole of London if possible. Like there's 8,400,000 people living in London, and if we can distribute 1 to everyone in London, or wherever you happen to be, if you're in the Isle of Wight, like Mother and Nada, or Leicester, or wherever we happen to be, wherever we've come from today, if we take our own cities and just distribute 1 box. I did my first box in the first week. It took me just a week, and I was actually selling them. I was saying that if you're happy to give £1, then the book is yours. And everyone took, practically everyone I spoke to took a book for £1. But then I went into a Muslim butcher's in Wembley, and they said, don't sell your books, just ask for a donation. And what happened was, the amount of Lakshmi I collected was probably 2.5 times more. And so I ended up, that's why the score is, if you notice, 1,014 and 1,413, sorry, 1,433 and 62 pence is compared with a total score of 665 books, means that it's well over a couple of, well, it works out over a couple of pounds per book. So it's possible, and everyone can do it. If we all try hard, we can all distribute 1 box, and that way Bhaja Hari will get his 35,000 books distributed very easily. So that's all about book distribution. So that's about book distribution. But the second thing I was going to talk about was writing. And in the last 8 years, I've written about 50 of these journals, and just kept a note of everything that's been happening in my life. So if we can, Srila Prabhupada did say writing is for everyone, and everyone should write down their realizations. So Gaura Prabhu, who's out in I think Montreal, like if you're on Facebook, you'll know him. He's got 600 and I think about 605 devotees, our god brothers and sisters together, and he's asking everyone to compile their memories of Srila Prabhupada and who was their best friend in Krishna consciousness was, what temple they joined, and when they got initiated, and so on. There's a list actually of all the things that we can write about. So if we can do that, that's the second. But the last point I just want to make is about Varnashram, and that is there's 6 things to Varnashram, and Dhanesvara brothers touched on them already. But basically, there's 6 things to Varnashram that we can all do and slowly implement, and that is first of all learn to grow my own food, milk my own cows, weave my own cloth, build my own shelter, produce everything I need, and use everything I produce. And that's what Srila Prabhupada meant by simple living and high thinking. So if we can do that, and the final point is that if we can all think about setting up a Varnashram college with every ISKCON center, which is what Srila Prabhupada asked to do in March 12, 1974, which is in Hare Krishna Devidasi's book, Srila Prabhupada speaking on Varnashram. So if we can all set up a Varnashram college wherever we are, especially at the manor, I think Kripa Moy probably could help with that. If we could set up a Varnashram college with every ISKCON center, then I think we can eventually do something proper.